What's up guys, Lifting here. So in this video I'm gonna show you the changes you need to do to your budget Vaal Sparker to be able to take it into mid-tier maps. So anything from tier 6 to tier 10 or tier 9. That's where you wanna comfortably farm and use the right type of maps. But I'll show you these or my recommendations as we go into it. But as for the things you need to change for your Vaal Sparker, first of all, it would probably be a good idea to mention. You should probably try to move ahead from Dried Lake, at least when you reach level 80. You can still run there, and it's still somewhat efficient. But try to move into the to those maps now. So the gear changes you need to make is, first of all, I recommend you get yourself an additional sacrificial harvest. So you run with 3 now. I have a 27, a 27, and a 25, and this is pretty good. This works pretty well. I would prefer having a 27 here, but you know, this works as it is now. But try to see if you can get that. Don't go below 25 and try to have 3 of these. Another thing you do is that instead of using your curse on hit, Assassin's Mark, and Herald of Ice to generate power charges, you instead pick up the Blue Dream jewel here. What this does is that it first of all gives you 5% of lightning damage as extra chaos damage, so it's a damage boost of course, but it also makes it so that lightning resistance or all resistances in the radius of the jewel here gives you an equal chance to generate a power charge. And since we're spec'd into Nullification, which gives 8 to all elemental resistances, and Void Barrier down here, which also gives 8 to all elemental resistances, we have a 16% chance to generate a power charge on kill. And that is all you need. It's very, very effective, very, very reliable. So I suggest you do that, because that means you can then spec out of the traditional Assassin's Curse on Hit setup, and instead use Assassin's Curse on Hit Poacher's Mark to generate frenzy charges, for instance. Or you can use what I mentioned in the previous video. I forgot to tell you about the Assassin's Mark, I apologize for that. You can do the Curse on Hit, Warlord's Mark, Ice Bite, and Herald of Ice setup. So with Ice Bite you generate the frenzy charges instead of Poacher's Mark, and you get a bit of leech and some endurance charges with Warlord's Mark. I think for me, that's what works best right now. The frenzy charges is less reliable than if you use Poacher's Mark. If you go Poacher's Mark directly with Curse on Hit, it's very, very reliable. But it's up to you. With the super expensive version, you do something else. But I'll show you that in the next video. That's going to be the final video for the Vaal Sparker here. But this is the intermediate type of gear. So after you've gotten yourself the Blue Dream, you really, I suggested it the last time, but you really need to get Choir of the Storm. You get so much crit chance with this. It's no longer optional at this point. Well, it's optional. You can run without, but I wouldn't suggest it. It's so good that it's almost a shame. It only costs between 15 and 20 chaos, at least in Breach Softcore. I should mention the Blue Dream costs around 7 to 80 chaos, so it of course is more expensive. The other thing you need to do, in my opinion, is that you need to get yourself a Kiara's Determination. It costs around 70 to 100 Chaos Orbs, depending on the buyer. And the reason you do this is, of course, that this makes you immune to freeze, chill, stuns, curses, and all that stuff. So it's very good for a CI build. But it also allows you to remove that Valerium ring and then instead just get a good rare ring, which will give you more energy shield, or you should try to get that at least, lightning resistance, and just, you know, stats if you need that for your gems to level up. So you just get a more like wholly upgraded character on all levels. Remember, the lightning resistance is important for crit chance together with Choir of the Storm. It's not necessary, again, you don't have to get the Kiaras. If you prefer the Valerium, it's more reliable, but I definitely prefer this. You also need to get yourself a Vessel of Vingtar, because at this point in time, when you start to do the yellow tier maps, you know, the monsters will start to deal damage and can become a challenge. And you really need the Vingtars to instant leech. It's super powerful when you instant leech with Vingtars. It's your best defense, and it isn't even that expensive. You should get the one that adds flat lightning damage to spells. That's the one that benefits you the most. Don't go for the penetration one, because as the Inquisitor with Inevitable Judgment, it will set it to 0. You can't go below anything like that, so it's not worth it. Go for the one that gives you flat damage to spells. Now, when you're running a Vingtar's Flask, you also need to have a shock removal flask. So on your Diamond Flask, which you're already running, you need to get the grounding suffix so you can remove that. So every time you use your Vingtars, you use your Diamond Flask too, so you're immune to that debuff Vingtars gives you. Now, the final thing you should do is you need to get your Regalia, or whatever rare chest you're running, 6-linked. And that's because that final link really does add to that damage. And the final link you need to add in is added lightning damage. So the total, or the entire link is Vaal Spark, faster projectiles, spell echo, critical strikes, controlled destruction, and added lightning. It really does add to that final damage. And it is kind of important, because you don't want to be in the situation where you're clearing fast, you have the movement speed and all that stuff, but there's too many stragglers. Just because you don't really kill them, it doesn't give you enough souls to continue your chain, and well, it's not efficient when you're clearing the map. So try to get that 6-link. It's of course what makes the build more expensive. You probably can do it without the 6-link, but it's not going to feel so good. At least I really appreciated when I had the 6-link. So the final thing to touch upon is what type of maps should you run at this level. And there's a whole discussion about shaping your map and getting the right types of maps, but we're not there yet. That is for the next video. That's for the end game gear and for the red maps. You can run that with this gear, so it's completely fine, but I'll keep that in that video. But for this type of gear, the intermediate Vaal Sparker, I suggest you run anything from tier 6 and up to tier 9. And the good maps for tier 6 is Racecourse or Canyon, Racecourse, Strained, Shaped Jungle Valley, and Spider Forest map. Spider Forest map only because you have the chance of getting the Doctor card in there, and it is insanely valuable, right? The other ones, it's because it has good layout. It works great for Vaal Spark. For tier 7, I suggest Shaped Beach map and Mud Geyser. For tier 8, Bog map, that's great. Arid Lake map, Shaped, and Tropical Island. Then for tier 9, Coves map, and finally Reef map. And you should run all of these rare. Make sure you spend an alchemy orb on all of these to get the most value of them. But make sure they don't have Elemental Reflect. Elemental Reflect will fuck you up. So if you get that, get a new map. It's not worth it typically to re-roll it. Just get a new one. And that's what there is to say about the intermediate Sparker. With this gear, you can go all the way up to red maps and complete that. But it will be more interesting if I show you in the next video with the absolute most insane gear that you can put on. And well, we'll do that. We'll talk about some of the red maps you can run at that point too. Remember, you can check my character profile to see what gear it is that I am using, and then you can try to emulate that. Thank you for watching, and bros, do you even nerd?